Welcome back to Backward Point Podcast. My name is Nadra Sayed, the co-host of this podcast, and with me, as always, is my brother and co-host
Bashar.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning back in, and everybody who watched our previous episode. I have high regards for you guys. It was one of our toughest to do because we sat here for 2 hours straight, and lots of appreciation right off the bat. Number one, number two, thanks to all our Patreon subscribers. We are indebted to you guys, especially with this current weird shadow ban that we're facing. You know, our content is sort of being pushed out of the algorithm, so you really got to find it. And the people who are on our Patreon support us irrevocably, and we love that support, and it really helps keep the lights on in this place. Speaking of Patreon, if you want to be a part of that community, you can sign up right below in the description. We have really cool, fun stuff. A Discord channel is something that everybody wants. That's in the works as well. And our Patreon members will be the first to sign up when that is live. So lots of cool perks there. All the show notes for this podcast that Bashar creates will also be available on Patreon as soon as this podcast is live. That's all the housekeeping I have. Bashar, what are we doing today?
What is this podcast? As in gay, like what are we doing in this episode of the podcast? I decided we will answer a few difficult questions. The first question is, we've just seen both of the World Cup warm-up matches of Pakistan. The question is, and as you could probably see from the title of this episode, is Pakistan warmed up? So I guess the first half of this podcast, we're just going to review the warm-up matches of Pakistan. And the second half will be a preview of the Pakistan versus Netherlands, the first match that Pakistan plays in this ODI World Cup, which is to commence on Friday. So the first question regarding the warm-up matches is, how seriously should Pakistan or the fans be taking these warm-up matches? Because a lot of people have already said that Pakistan is not going to make the top 4, might not even make the top 6 based on the results of these warm-up matches.
Man, if history tells us anything, warm-up matches don't really mean anything. I'm only saying that not because that Pakistan's performance in this World Cup warm-up match section has been abysmal, because it hasn't, firstly. And secondly, I'm saying that because what are these warm-up matches? Today, 15 or 20 overs were bowled with part-time spinners. That's what Australia did. So Labuschagne, Warner was bowling leg spin, and Smith was bowling off spin. So are we taking this match as seriously as we should? Like Babar scored 90 not out today, but I don't regard that as any stupendously important innings. It's just a knock in the middle of the innings. He came fourth down. All of this is a long-winded way of saying that no, these warm-up matches don't really mean that we're going to be excellent or horrible. India played 0 warm-up matches this season, and I'm pretty sure they're still in the top 4. And, you know, Bangladesh has not surpassed them because they've had a good clinical bowling performance. That being said, individual performances, I feel like in these warm-up matches mean a lot more. There is a certain sense of pride, confidence, and sort of just match hours that you clock in when you're playing warm-up matches. These do count as List A games, so there is some sort of pedigree to them. But apart from that, apart from getting people into form, getting some match practice, you know, getting just used to the conditions, there literally is not any benefit of this. That's why when people and YouTubers and artists that I follow take these to a literal extent, I get a little bit cautious. Like CBA was like ripping the Pakistani team for the past couple of warm-up matches, and I didn't really understand that. Weirdly enough, I feel like he's pushing a weird Sarfaraz agenda, that's a whole other podcast, but that's not the vibe that I'm into. I'm not going to judge anyone harshly if they have a bad warm-up. That being said, all the high scores, I'm not going to judge them harshly either. Everything is in a spectrum. So Shakil performing well is good, but if he had gotten out for the first ball, maybe not so good. You know, Fakhr getting 22 off today, who was looking good, didn't really capitalize, but that's like, this is the reasons of the warm-up matches. They sort of push people who have been off the edge a little bit back into the center, back into rotation. So apart from that, I don't see any significance of any of this, to be honest.
I think historically, if you look at Pakistan cricket history, the 2 big tournaments that we've won, the 92 World Cup, Pakistan lost their warm-up match against Sri Lanka in that tournament. And then the 2009 T20 World Cup, Pakistan won. Pakistan lost both of their warm-up matches. The first one was, I don't recall the first one, but the second one was against India, and Pakistan lost by 9 wickets. A fun fact of that match was that Amir got Rohit Sharma out for the first time, I think, in his career, and then the love affair just continued
It's
on.
not going to be the last, is it?
Won't be the last. I think it could be the last, considering if Amir has played his last match for Pakistan.
No, but that wasn't the last.
That
for sure.
wasn't the last, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it was the beginning of a long love story between them. And then so Pakistan lost both of their warm-up matches here. I think what people are not considering is that this is the first time where 16 of the 18-man squad has gone to India. They're getting used to the conditions, getting used to just being around the Indian people, the Indian crowd. This was the first
Hyderabadi
match.
biryani apparently is toxic.
Yeah, this was the first match that they were playing in front of an Indian crowd. So I think these are things to consider. The climate as well. It's very hot. I was seeing a lot of players sweating buckets in these conditions. So I was a bit shocked why the Pakistan team went to India so late. I mean, I know conditions are similar, but you would have
You're
ideally.
shocked. I'll give you one reason. They didn't have visas until 48 hours before. Like, we hardly talked about the whole political situation behind the Pakistani team departing, but it was quite dire for a bit there, and it seemed like things were just, somebody talked about psychological pressures and psychological warfares. That the BCCI is basically putting Pakistan on its knees way before Pakistan even landed. That's one of the things that I'm feeling has happened. Not saying that
because actually Babar wanted to take the team to Dubai for a few days and just lounge around, hang out.
Team build, chemistry build.
Yeah, a lot of players that we've talked to have often said that one of the ways that you can ensure a team does well in a tournament is that they're all gelled together. There is a lot of unity in this team, but just I think those few days in Dubai, just cooling off of a bad Asia Cup, would have helped just get the boys more together.
Yeah, because when you vacation with someone, it's just like, that's why friends vacation together, just to build their bond stronger. And this team has already been accused of being quote unquote the friendship 11. So why not go on a little vacation in Dubai on PCB money? Like, I would 100% do that. I think that's a missed opportunity that Pakistan didn't really have that those few days to really just chill, detox, sort of get a brand new start. But once Pakistan landed, it was just havoc. Like, it was literally like the Beatles had landed. If this was the 1960s, right? It felt like that. Like, there was people not storming, but there was a large crowd at the airport. There was a large crowd around the bus, the hotels. Am I wrong with saying it felt like a very big superstar had landed in Pakistan, in India, when Babar Azam was going out? Like, Babar and Shaheen were just like the stars. And I feel like it takes you a couple of days to cool down from that. But the one thing I wanted to ask you, because not that you've really seen Indian conditions, but how different are Indian conditions from Pakistani conditions? Because the two games that Pakistan has played in this Asia Cup, they've hit 350 or close to in both the games. And it feels very Rawalpindi-esque to me. It feels very road, shiny, shorter boundaries. So how different will it actually be for Pakistanis? Because if it's as close as Pindi as it is, then Imam and Babar are going to smash everybody to bits.
Yeah, that's a great point you mentioned, because the two games Pakistan lost, the first one was when they were trying to defend 345 against New Zealand, and the second one, which was today, they lost because they were chasing 352, so they conceded 350 plus runs, and that's what the average score seems to be on this ground. I have more data on this ground as well when we go to the match preview.
Yeah.
But just looking at how Pakistan's prime players have done, so Mohammad Rizwan scored a century in the first warm-up match, 103 off 94 balls, and then Babar Azam scored 80 in that match against New Zealand. And Babar was technically resting today, but I think after seeing Pakistan being 80 for 4 and lots of overs to spare, he took the opportunity to come in bat and scored a magnificent 90 off 59. So Babar Azam's stats in India as we speak right now averages 170 with the bat and a strike rate of 119. Some will argue that a lot of his runs today were against a Warner, a Smith, a Labuschagne, which they're not Australia's best bowlers.
Yeah, it might not be accurate to what it would have been in real life, real match conditions.
Right, but at the same time, it still shows that they're not too overawed by the conditions, and these conditions are very similar to what they probably see in a Lahore or a Karachi. So good to see that most of our boys were in the runs. Rizwan, Babar, so Shakil, Imam scored a few. Fakhr looked good today for the 4 boundaries he scored. So I don't think it'll be too different, and it's good that Pakistan played both of their warm-up matches here in Hyderabad because their next 2 World Cup matches against Netherlands and Sri Lanka are in the same ground, similar conditions.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't really judge the whole Pakistani performance on the warm up, good or bad. It's because things like this happen where Babar was not supposed to play, was not supposed to go out and bat. Then he sees a little bit of a collapse. He goes in, steadies the ship, comes back. And the alarming thing that if you really want to raise alarm bells, if you really want to be a cynic, the alarming thing was Babar goes in during a collapse, steadies the ship, comes back, and still we don't manage to win. Now, again, like I said, I want to preface this by saying the win doesn't really matter, doesn't really count, but morally, psychologically, a little bit of an edge for sure. I'll give you that. I think it would have been a good moral victory for Shadab, good moral victory for everybody, all the 15 boys who played today, that we got a W under our belt in India before we started.
Because at this point, Pakistan is coming off of 4 losses. If you count the 2 against India, Sri Lanka, and the Asia Cup, and then these 2 matches. So I think last podcast you mentioned that winning is a habit. So that's why maybe these warm-up matches could play an important role. I think the other alarming thing is that Pakistan's issues are still exactly where they were before the Asia Cup. Shadab is not bowling at his best. Some of his balls are too full, some are too short. Osama Amir does look like a better option, but can you really play Osama Amir over Shadab Khan? Nawaz looks pretty ordinary in the middle. Fakhr today did score 22 off 24 balls. He hit 1 cracking boundary off of Stark.
A few off of Stark, actually.
Which made me think, is the real Fakhr Zaman back? So a bit that was a good sign, but still he threw his wicket away against Glenn Maxwell. So if I'm being very honest with you, I'm very scared of this Pakistan team going into the World Cup because I'm seeing the red flags. I'm seeing an out of form Fakhr. I'm seeing batting position in the middle order not accustomed to how the players want to be. I'm seeing an out of form Shadab, a Nawaz who's not taking wickets, a rusty Hassan Ali, and a Shaheen Afridi who post-injury just has not been the same bowler. In my opinion, there's 2 Shaheen Afridis. There's one that was the pre-injury before he tore his ACL, and there's a Shaheen Afridi after his knee injury, which was after the T20 World Cup. So he just has not been up to par to what Shaheen standards are with respect to his pace. Before injury, he was bowling at 145, 147 clicks on average. He was a lot more accurate. His balls were always on the stumps and challenging the batsman up front, which made the Shaheen first over such a lethal event in cricket history. And he just doesn't seem to be at his best right now. So that, and then Hassan Ali, who's making a comeback. A lot of things are going Pakistan's way, but as a Pakistani, I'm still hoping against hope and hoping that these guys will turn up and the key performers will play their role in helping Pakistan get to the Super 4 somehow.
I'm actually a little bit shockingly, and I don't want to say this just because of content purposes, I'm the opposite of you right now. I think we actually have a very solid middle order right now with options. So we have Saud, we have Salman Ali Agha, we have Iftikhar, we have Rizwan. Those 4 are locked in, and we can move them around as we please, and we can move them around when we need to. Like, you can bring an informed Saud instead of Agha and make sure that you have a left-right combination. Everyone in the middle is actually performing, giving you runs. The top hasn't scored in a while. Imam, I have no doubts against Imam. It's just that he hasn't scored in a bit. It's been a few games since we've seen a half century or a ballistic century from him. So, it'll take him a few more games to get in the rhythm. Netherlands is a really good opportunity. Sri Lanka is a really good opportunity to get your numbers up, to get some time in the middle for both Fakhr and Imam. So I'm totally confident that they will. I'm actually a lot more confident in Fakhr after seeing his innings today. He just played a stupid shot and he got out. But that's not because he was scared, underconfident, or even just like, trying to survive. That was just a fluke of a shot, maybe a little bit of overconfidence, if anything. So Fucker looks like he's in good nick. You need him to smash. You need him to smash the Starks of the world, the Bumrahs of the world, the Woods of the world, and that's what he was doing. I don't think Glenn Maxwell is going to come in the 10th over or 8th over anytime soon. In a real world match scenario, so he should be fine. And everybody else, at least 7 up, looks good. Even I have no doubt in Shadab's batting. I have no doubt Nawaz is batting. Nawaz hit a good 50 today. The little thing that's concerning for me, personally speaking, is the match finishing. Who's coming out there and finishing it? I thought Nawaz should have finished it today. He was looking in good nick. There was no reason for him to get out on a dolly that he did. So a little bit tweaking here, tweaking there. We should be able to score 350s regularly and be able to chase 350s regularly. Now, that being said, defending 350, can we defend it? Well, I don't know, because the concerns that you're raising against Shaheen, valid. The concerns against Hassan Ali, valid. He just came back. Shadab, valid. Osama actually looked really good today, so I'm not going to knock him. But, there are moments with him as well, so valid again. I would just say, as I'm hoping, and this has happened before, where if Pakistan can pick up their stride as the tournament progresses, there's no reason why they won't win.
I have a list of all the 9 teams Pakistan will face in this World Cup, and I've done the math. I was doing the math this morning, actually, and I was thinking, Pakistan needs to win 6 of these 9 matches to qualify for the semis.
To ensure
7 for sure, but if they win 6 matches with good run rate, they can still make it. So let's sort of go for the 4th spot, if we may. I'm gonna name these teams, and let's talk about which teams Pakistan can beat. Okay, and Netherlands.
Yeah,
is that a win?
That's a win.
Sri Lanka,
even though Nasser Hussain thinks differently, but I'll give Pakistan the win on this.
Okay, Sri Lanka. Do you think Pakistan can beat Sri Lanka?
Yeah.
Okay, that's 2 wins. England.
Long pause.
Okay, wait. Let's skip England for now.
Okay.
Bangladesh.
Yes.
Okay, 3 wins. Afghanistan.
Close, but yes.
4 wins. Can Pakistan beat South Africa?
Yes.
That's 5 wins. So the math is Pakistan needs to beat either Australia, England, or India.
New Zealand? Did you say New Zealand?
No. Did I say New Zealand?
I don't think so.
Okay, so Pakistan, 19, Pakistan beats Netherlands, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Afghanistan. That's 4 wins, right? What about New Zealand?
Yeah. You said South Africa as well.
Did you say we were going to beat South Africa?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 5 wins with South Africa.
And I think we're going to beat New Zealand as well.
New Zealand
That's
as well.
6.
That's 6 wins.
Yeah.
So Pakistan has the leeway to lose against Australia,
England, and India. Yep.
So that's how Pakistan.
And I think they're going to lose against. If I'm being realistic, if I'm putting my realistic hat on, I think they might lose against Australia and India and beat England.
Okay, so
okay. Look, I'll put it like this: I think they're definitely going to choke against India. I have a very strong feeling, unless there's a master blaster from either Shaheen or Babar Azam. Like I'm talking like 140 runs, like Rohit Sharma did, or like 5 wickets with giving 40 runs away, like a Wasim Akram type innings with Shaheen. If those two don't happen, India's going to hit us for 380 and we're going to get all out in 260. So that's probably what's going to happen. Their home conditions, their crowds, etc., etc. A lot of reasons why they would win. So I'm thinking India, we lose against India 85%. That's the vibe I'm getting. Again, I'm not trying to be a cynic. That's just how I feel. Australia, England, we can beat one of those two on our day.
And I think Pakistan can beat New Zealand, but South Africa look a really tough team in this World Cup. And I think a lot of us are.
I just don't have trust in Bavuma as a captain.
Yeah, but we are putting South Africa under the radar. They might be the underdog of this World Cup. I might just pass on New Zealand being the 4th team just because Kane Williamson is not 100% fit.
Yeah. Even though he scored a 50.
Tim Southee is not there.
Unfit, Williamson scored a 50 against us. So, like, what do we know?
Yeah, we don't really know. So it's going to be tricky with Pakistan, but they need to ensure they do beat Netherlands, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan for sure. But they cannot afford any upsets there. and then try to see if they can sneak out a win between South Africa, England, Australia, India, and New Zealand.
I just don't want Pakistan to do what they've done many times before, is lose by the team that they should definitely be winning.
Yeah.
The West Indies, the South Africa,
The Zimbabwe.
the Zimbabwe's. Like, we don't just, if you don't do that, just play your basics right. Get the 6 wins, the 7th, 8th, 9th games. Those are the ones where you create leeway, and not just 6 wins. Like, get good margin wins, right? Like, if you're playing, Zimbabwe's not in this World Cup, but let's say if you're playing Bangladesh, try to hit 380 and try to get them out in 260, 250.
Yeah, same thing with Netherlands as well.
Same thing with Sri Lanka. Go for the big scores, and then so you have that cushion, that basically that same 1 point, that 0.11 percentage or whatever, the margin that was in the 1992 World Cup, and the same margin point something that was in the 2019 World Cup that made you get kicked out. Those are the points that are going to put you through for the semis.
Yeah, so even if you lose, make sure you lose respectfully, and when you're winning, make sure you dominate and win by a big margin.
Yes.
On that note, I think we should get into the preview of this Pakistan versus Netherlands match. I have some stats about the stadium we're playing at. This is the same stadium we saw at the 2 warm-up matches. So in the warm-up matches, we saw 352, 346 being chased by New Zealand against Pakistan, 352 defended by Australia, but Pakistan lost just by 14 runs. Now, there have been 7 ODIs played in this stadium. 4 times the team batting first won, 3 times the team chasing won.
So very close numbers.
It's very, and I think 7 ODIs is not that big of a sample size to sort of judge.
Is this a newer stadium?
This is a newer stadium. So there's not a lot of ODIs that have happened here, so we can judge exactly what Pakistan should or should not do. But I think it's enough to give you an idea, maybe, of what is recommended. The average first inning score is 288. The average second inning score is 262. The highest score recorded on this ground is 350 by Australia, and the highest score chased is 252 by South Africa.
Okay, but that's like very different from what we've been seeing in the past few days. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, India also scored 349 in this stadium earlier this year, and this is the same match where Shubman Gill scored a double 100.
Okay, so that seems more appropriate to modern times than the other scores that you were giving me. 280 just feels like it'll be chasing 40 overs in this tournament.
Absolutely. I think if Pakistan needs to win this match, the strategy should be you win the toss, you bat first, you score at least 350 plus, and then you try to get early wickets up front with Shaheen and Hassan, get wickets in the middle overs by Haris Rauf, and make sure that you clean up Netherlands under a 200 to 250. But they will not be a walk in the park. They are a good team. Like you mentioned, they've done a lot of hard work and preparation to qualify for the World Cup, which is a huge achievement in itself.
These league tournaments around the world have actually started picking up these players from lower, country rankings and sort of giving them enough exposure that they sort of hold on to their own. Especially, like, the greatest example is a player like Sikandar Raza. He was the difference between Pakistan and Zimbabwe in that 2022 T20 match. Like him, even though they won just by a run, that's all they needed, right? And it was enough for them to take that win home. And it was only because Sikandar plays literally IPL, PSL, GT20, LPL. Like, he's everywhere around the world. So he knows how to handle pressure. He knows how to, like, get in there when he needs to. And I feel like that's the same thing with these Dutch players, because they were some of them at the GT20, some of them were at the LPL. It's important to know that these players are not the way that the quote unquote, and I hate this word, but I'm going to use it, the minnows were back in 2003 or 1999 or even 2007. People were underrating Ireland in that tournament, and guess what happened? They made it to the Super Sixes, and it's just that's sort of the attitude that Netherlands is coming with. They finished top, they kicked out West Indies. They want to come here and at least make a mark. Get that 40 grand if you win. If you win a group stage, you get 40 grand. Why not? Get it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the huge benefits of having so many leagues in the world, where there is a huge demand of players. And we saw a number of these Dutch players in Canada recently for the GT20. We saw, I think, Bas de Leede was here, Max O'Dowd was here. Those are a couple of names that come to mind. And then they also have an experienced Van der Merwe, who used to play for South Africa.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not a team to take lightly. I have my Pakistan playing 11 for this match. I don't know if you have yours, but
I looked through over. I was just going through the notes before the pod, and I looked over that, and it's quite similar.
would you make any changes? I can. Let me just say this first, and then we
Yeah,
can.
let's name the 11, and then we'll talk about what changes we would make if needed.
Okay, so we discussed in our Q&A episode that we're going to persist with Fakhr Zaman opening the innings. So it's going to be Fakhr Zaman with Imam ul Haq, Babar Azam, Mohammad Rizwan, Saud Shakil is in there at 5, Iftikhar Ahmed at 6, Shadab Khan at number 7, Mohammad Nawaz at number 8, Hassan Ali, Shaheen Afridi, and Haris Rauf.
Yeah, that's exactly my 11 as well. I would prefer Saud on 5 as well. I think that's a great position for him to bat on.
And then in the last warm-up match, he did show us that he does have that power hitting ability. He plays proper cricketing shots. So, and having a left-handed batsman in the middle order, it could be a huge benefit for Pakistan. I also feel like, and I was just hearing Mazhar Arshad, the statistician, talk about this, that Pakistan should have their middle order be flexible past number 3, past Babar Azam. So if you lose an early wicket, send in Rizwan. But if there's no wickets falling at the 30th, 35th over, promote an Iftikhar.
So let's say you're like a 200 for 1 at 40 or 35.
35.
Then you don't send Rizwan.
No. Then you send in Iftikhar. And let him get in form, get his eyes set or whatever. And then let him unleash himself in the last 10 overs. Because Iftikhar is literally the only power hitter in this Pakistan team who can hit massive sixes.
At will.
But he needs some time. Like today, he scored 80 odd runs. And it's because he came in at number 4 with lots of overs to spare. He got in, got his eyes set, understood the pitch, the conditions, the bowling, and then he just went ham.
Yeah.
So I think Iftikhar needs that batting position to sort of get the best out of him. And Rizwan at 4 has been doing well, but I think if we can promote Iftikhar somehow at number 5 or number 4, that would be good. And I think having a flexible middle order batting would be nice. You can even send in Saud Shakil if a team has left arm spinners or a leg spinner, just to combat that spin. And I think with Rehan ul Haq and Hassan Chima being in the team as a manager and as an analyst, as for team strategy, these are the same guys who have been very vocal about playing a flexible batting order, matchups. They were huge advocates of data in Islamabad United, and I hope they can translate the same thing in the Pakistan team. So I have my faith in them. I have my faith in Babar Azam and this team, and we hope them and wish them the best of luck in this first match. And we'll be here in the post match just to dissect the whole game.
100%. But before that, we're not wrapping up, are we?
We can if you want.
No. I want to talk about how Pakistan with Saud in the 11 will then have 3 lefties. We'll have Imam at the top, Saud in the middle, and Nawaz sort of coming in. Oh, yeah, Fakhr as well. My bad. I totally forgot Fakhr. 4 lefties. So we'll have the openers, and then we'll have Saud in the middle, and then we'll have Nawaz sort of near the end wrapping things up. That seems like a good time, good use of the left-hand, right-hand combination, especially like if you put in Agha Salman in where Saud is supposed to be, then you don't have a lefty up until number 8.
Mohammad Nawaz.
Yeah. And that's quite a long time. If like Fakhr and Imam don't really hang out till that time, then you really just you're kind of stuck there with the righties, and you're sort of getting the bowlers used to the conditions, used to the areas. Just that lefty righty combination mentally on a bowler, it might be a little bit, it might be subconscious even, but that's an important distinction. It changes the whole dynamic sometimes, especially when there's spinners on, especially if the ball is moving in, moving out. And so it seems like the type of player who can adjust in conditions. Like I said, he's a very strong technical player. You have that ability when you're playing so many test matches and so many domestic matches. And again, he's a Karachi player, right? He's played on dead pitches where there's literally only spinners. I was actually just watching the highlights of the Quaid Azam Trophy, the Lahore versus Karachi match where Safi just scored 200, and Noman Ali bowled 50 overs in that game. 50 overs in that. Like, that's what happens when you're playing domestic cricket in Pakistan. So someone like Saud who's been through the circuit and he's coming out fresh, ready to prove himself. He could literally be the difference. I don't want to I hate people who compare stuff from 92 because 92 was literally over 30 years ago. But he might be the Imam ul Haq of this tournament.
Also, just you made a good point about Saud being from Karachi because Karachi pitches are.
Because you have a Karachi agenda?
I'm sorry?
You have a Karachi agenda?
No. I was just talking about how.
We've been we've been accused in this podcast for having Karachi agendas, even though we don't really talk about Safi at all. If you got, CBA is from Lahore and he talks about Safi more than we do. So go figure.
This is a podcast about Pakistan. It's about cricket. We don't have any agendas here.
A little bit of a Saim Ayub agenda, but we'll talk about that later.
It's coming up, guys. Wait for it. So yeah, just Saud Shakil being from Karachi, Karachi pitches. We've played a lot of school cricket in Karachi, and we noticed ourselves that Pacers, the ball does not swing, the ball does not move around, and typically after the first 3 or 4 overs, spinners come on and they just keep balling at a length. It keeps breaking miles. You were in Karachi recently.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I played some village cricket. Shout out to Shayan. Shayan plays cricket. I was in his team. I played 4 matches there, and it's literally what you said. It's dusty pitches. The ball breaks a lot, especially when it goes off the crack. You'd be lucky if you got a ball that was chest high. I'm talking about fast bowlers as well.
Nobody wears a helmet.
No, actually, people started wearing helmets. People wear helmets now. If they don't, then the captain usually, they're sensible enough to be like, yo, I know the ball doesn't bounce. It doesn't go over to your chest. But if it does, you're screwed, right? Why take that risk? Especially in a situation now where Salman Ali Agha was sweeping a ball top edge straight to the face. That's my biggest fear, by the way. That's why I'm not a good spin player, is because I'm psychologically scared to reach the ball. Your hands are supposed to be away from your body. They're supposed to be in front of you while you're sweeping, and you can't really see. There's a blind area almost a little bit where you're sweeping the ball. So long story short, I don't sweep, but what I noticed was dusty pitches, lots of spinners. The first 6 overs are fast bowlers. I was playing T20s. First 6 overs fast bowlers, and then from 6 to 16, 18, even 12 overs straight, you got spinners. Sometimes you got all through 20, you got spinners. So
I mean, point being is players from Karachi are typically good players who spin because of this reason.
And they're patient players.
Yes.
Sarfraz, very patient. Miadad, very patient.
One of the best players of spin in Pakistan right now for T20s is Azam Khan. His stats speak the same way, and that's why teams in the CPL pick him up. Same thing with Saim Ayub, actually.
Fawad Alam, we're forgetting the GOAT.
Fawad Alam.
And he was really
Javed
good.
Miadad was the ex-GOAT.
Exactly.
So, players from Karachi typically do perform well against spin. But again, I don't think the pitches here are turning miles. These are true batting wickets. I think if you see off the new ball, like after the first 5 to 8 overs, you will see a lot of boundaries and runs being scored.
So my prediction is, because of the way that these pitches are, bowlers who end up taking 15 to 20 wickets in this tournament, goat them. Completely goat them.
I think a figure of 10 overs, 2 for 60, 3 for 65 is decent here.
Yeah. Okay, it's decent. I would say that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I would say that's pretty good because
Harris drove for 97 today.
Exactly. Harris Stove almost went for 100 today. I mean,
3 short for 100.
I'm just saying some of that death bowling was just horrendous. Like, that's not the Harris
Also,
Stove.
bro, the shots that they're playing, reverse sweep, reverse scoop for 4s and 6s, like those are ridiculous shots.
Yeah, but he's also bowling really bad.
No, but okay, who in the Pakistan team can play a reverse scoop for a 6? Maybe Mohammad Harris, but he's in the reserves.
You're talking about the 11 that we selected? Maybe Saud
The
Shakil.
15 that we have.
Maybe Saud Shakil could do that. But do we need that? My question is, okay, Matthew Wade hit us for 3 insane 6s that I will remember for the rest of my life. And whenever I have kids, I will tell them about that. The first traumatic memory they'll have is of that. Because that was genuine. It was worse. That was worse than Saeed Ajmal's 4 6s against Hussey for me. Just, I don't know why. I
think you have a lot of stories to tell your kids. There's that show, How I Met Your Mother. You're going to have How Pakistan Cricket Team Broke My Heart.
Yeah, that's going to be
so kids, today I will tell you about the Mike Hussey 6s.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, we can go on and on, right? But I feel like that Matthew Wade inning sort of left a dent in our psychology to play those sort of shots. I mean, the newer generation comes in, the Saim Ayubs, the Mohammad Harises, even the Saud Shakils have the potential, but you will never see the class acts of Babar Azam, Imam ul Haq, those generation players. They will not risk their wicket to do that. Salman Ali Agha went out, played in the Asia Cup, got out twice playing a stupid reverse sweep. Just don't do it.
And the backlash he got after that, even though he's been scoring lots of runs on that shot, players like Salman Agha, or I would say actually Mohammad Haris in general, because he plays cricket very differently to any Pakistani
Out of the
batter.
box cricket.
And he mentioned in our podcast that my only request to the fans, and this is a difficult request, that don't have any expectations from you, because even though he wants to score tons of runs, he plays a high risk brand of cricket. So the opportunities for failure outweigh his success. But the fans need to be patient enough to support him through his failures and celebrate his successes.
Yep. I wanted to quickly throw the question back at you. The teams that you sort of counter down, which games do you think will win? Were you in agreement with me? Did you think that something would be a bit different on your side? I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I was just going through. I think Netherlands we can win. Sri Lanka we can win. We can win against Bangladesh, Afghanistan. So those 4 games for sure, I'm confident we'll win. And the 2 more games, I think we can beat New Zealand. New Zealand don't look at their absolute best to me. Their best player, Kane Williamson, is not 100% fit. He has actually rushed back to playing cricket before his
He's missing his first game too.
Yeah, before his recommended recovery time. Tim Southey, one of the most experienced bowlers, is also injured. So I think Pakistan can edge through past New Zealand. That's 5 wins. And then Pakistan, I think Pakistan versus South Africa. Pakistan has beaten South Africa in the past few World Cup matches. So some way or the other, we've seen brilliant individual performances help Pakistan clinch the victory against South Africa. So I would say Pakistan can beat South Africa, and Australia and India will be the 2 matches that Pakistan and England that they lose.
You're right, because we were going through the stats records in the last podcast, which I highly recommend everybody check it out. It feels like we beat South Africa a lot, but we only beat them twice in World Cups. It was 5 times we faced them, 3 times they've won.
I was looking at more like throughout ICC events.
Sure.
So 2022 T20 World Cup, 2019 ODI World Cup, 2017 Champions Trophy, 2015 ODI World Cup, 2012 T20 World Cup, 2009 we beat them in the semifinal. So we've beaten them quite a few times.
Recently, in recent memory, yeah, you're right. That makes sense. And even the 2019 South African team was some of the best players that I've
Hashim
seen.
Amla, Faf du Plessis, JP Dumini,
Imran Tahir, you had
Rabada.
You had a great team, and they just were not. They never showed up. So yeah, I mean, the South African team does seem. I'm in agreement with you, but what about England, India, and Australia?
I think Pakistan will need a really special performance against those 3 teams to pull out a win. Especially I think against India. The problem is if you don't get their wickets up front early on, like if you don't get the wickets of Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, or Virat Kohli in the first 10 overs, India is gonna smash 350 plus. And with their bowling lineup, like in front of a crowd of 100,000 people, it's gonna be very difficult for Pakistan to handle the pressure and score those runs to chase it down. I don't care how good Babar Azam is right now, but he cannot be a 1-man army. So Pakistan will need to play out of their skin to beat in India, to beat in Australia, especially in England, because they play baseball cricket all the time, right? And they have a very destructive batting lineup. Their bowling to me doesn't look as good as it was in the last World Cup. Jofra Archer is not there. And I think, Reece Topley is not the greatest opening bowler. Bowls around 130 kilometers an hour. Fakhr and Imam can't take him on. So I think maybe a victory against England is more probable. Australia, tough again with their batting performances and how just the depth they have in their team with the amount of all-rounders that they have. Mitchell Marsh, Mark Stoinis, Labuschagne is there, Maxwell is there, and then with the bowling lineup of Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, Adam Zampa, it'll be tough to beat them.
Last few predictions before we give, because this is the last podcast we're going to do about the World Cup. Before the World Cup, the next time we're going to do a podcast about the World Cup, it'll be a review of the first game, and hopefully that'll be a win for Pakistan. But anyone you think will score a double century in this World Cup for Pakistan? First guy to ever do that?
For Pakistan?
Yeah.
I think if Fakhr Zaman gets back into form, I really do have my trust and belief in this man that he will turn up in the World Cup for Pakistan.
Babar Azam double century loading?
Babar Azam tough because he scored 150 against Netherlands. Against Nepal, and he just looked dead tired by the end. So unless Babar Azam comes super early and then really capitalizes on a big innings, we might not see a double hundred. So I think Fakhar Zaman could be that player who scores a big score for Pakistan.
All right. That's what I wanted to know. Because I have my manifestation is such that I have already envisioned Pakistan chasing 375 at Ahmedabad. I believe that's the game. That's where the game is, at the Modi Stadium. And Babar scores 200 on a winning cause.
And then you wake up.
And then I wake up. But hey, I'm just putting on a record that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm hoping. It's going to be the opposite. I have a feeling. But the last time I said, "Oh, we're back, baby," and that Shaheen is neutralized or Shaheen is not neutralized, the opposite happened. So it's
maybe you should say that Pakistan's gonna get bowled off for 100, chasing 300.
No, but
the opposite will happen.
The horrifying thing about that is that it's very likely, even at dead tracks like these. So I'm not gonna say that, but I just want to tell the world what I'm hoping, and I just want the world to do its thing. Bashar, thank you very much for doing this podcast.
What's the emoji of the day?
Oh yeah, somebody wanted an alien emoji. So if you made it this far into the podcast, which you should have, because there's only a 41-minute podcast, alien emojis to the world, alien emojis to the wind. And it's really fun when I go back and I'm checking. Some people are cheating because I upload the podcast, I publish, and within 7 minutes I see like fire emojis like it was last time. So like you guys, if you cheat, it's not fun. But yeah, alien emojis I think is gonna be good. India did go to the moon, so you never know what they find there. Alien emojis. Thank you, Bashar, for coming out, doing your hard work. If you want to find the notes, guys, of all that stuff that we were talking about, all the notes that we sort of bring to the table on Patreon, you can sign up now. We're very close to launching our second live video call. It's going to be in a couple of weeks. So if you guys want to jump into that, go ahead. Discord servers also in the works, something that people have been asking us. We want our fans to engage with each other, because what was really good about the live video call, Bashar, was that our fans are really like cool people. And non-toxic, which I love. Like I could have talked to them for 2 hours if they wanted to, but they have lives, and unfortunately we don't.
I was thinking that our Patreon group could be like a Pakistan cricket therapy session.
Yeah,
where we all get on a call post-match and just vent.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody consults each other.
Yeah, so that's only going to happen if our supporters and our followers join the Patreon. So if you guys want to be a part of that future, hopefully not possible, but if it happens, therapy session, then join the Patreon, get into the live calls. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share it with your friends. The shadow ban is really affecting a lot of things on our channel. Reach is one of them, and this really helps telling the algorithm that, hey, we're here to fight back. So again, thanks everybody for listening. Thank you, Bashar, for showing up as well. It's your podcast. You should thank me, but whatever the case may be. Take care, everybody. If you guys are driving, drive safe. If you guys are listening in your homes, tell your loved ones that you love them, and we'll see you guys soon. Cheers.
Cheers.